Of course, everybody the whole day has to criticize because in this country we have the culture that we have to be negative, we have to be destructive, and we especially have to actually try to create a narrative of the untruth. For example, that this leader that dearly loves this country is not giving locals opportunity to be on C-level of government-owned companies. Let's start with the GEBE. We have decided with GEBE since December 2023. In 2023, January 2024, there was no cabinet Marcelina, and in that time was decided that we will actually do the recruitment on C-level for GEB through a third independent consultant company, BDO. After we got ourselves in a national energy crisis, I took the initiative to approach them, and that was 6 months later. What about, where are we? And at the end, they presented me the candidates that has independently been selected to accommodate the C-level of GB. Unfortunately, Mr. Washington passed away, but for each candidate, for the CEO, there was a second candidate, not selected by the leader, the Prime Minister Marcelina of the government, presented by the procedure that has been opted for to actually recruit a C-level CEO, and that became a other candidate with a Dutch background. And now the narrative is that the Prime Minister is appointing others than locals for GEBE. Please, people, let's stay realistic with what is going on in this country. Let's go to another one. We're going to go now to the one of the airport. Mr. Cleaver, if we understand corporate governance, we have a holding company. And actually, the holding company is like for GB, like we are shareholders. The holding company is like a shareholder, like for the operational company. In this case, is the holding company, the PGIA holding, is the one that decides who they want to become a C-level executive body for the operational level. So they decide on their own who they're going to appoint as a CEO of the operational company. It's the holding that decides for the operational company, not the government that is at the end the shareholder. The holding company decides, selects, appoints on the level of the operational company, and the holding company informs the shareholding being government about the choice that they have made. We spoke about GB. We spoke now, I just explained how it went with the airport. I want to give you one more, Telem. Let's go. Telem is the same. We came, there was a CEO of Telem. The CEO, his contract finished. It was ready. It was finalized. Telem has made an agreement for such a period of time. This gentleman would be the CEO of the company. Once the contract is finalized, it's finalized. Nobody broke that contract. We took him in service as the CEO of Telem. He worked out his time, and at a certain moment, it's over the contract. And then the supervisory board gave the advice that they would like to have a other CEO again for the company. And the government went in agreement with that. So where the narrative is from this leader of this government, with an enormous love for his country and his people, for people to say outside there that this leader is against locals to accommodate C-levels in our government-owned companies. Please, people, let's be realistic with each other. On another note, I would like now to have a final remark. I read with great interest a recent article by Mr. Terence Ray, which reflected on the disappointment, can you imagine, of the government surviving a carnival coup. I have to compliment Mr. Terence Ray for this very good written article, but an article that I think the way he wrote it, I want to thank him because his contribution to awakening the people of St. Martin, how they have to look at politics and government, I think this is starting a new phase for this country. The article's title is Carnival Coup is Cancelled. It states, political peace makes people nervous. Can you imagine? We live now with a Cabinet Mercelina II that is trying to bring peace and rest in this community, and the article states that political peace makes people nervous. I'm impressed with that statement, but it's the truth. Further, it states, no carnival this year, just ministers minding their business. That is exactly what we need in this country now. Not a carnival with restlessness, no, ministers that are just minding their business with their ministry. The article continues, this brings us to a tragedy because there is peace and stability now, and people are not hearing much from government because everybody is just focusing to improve this country. Without a coup, what will historians remember? So they want the action, they want the coup, they want the fighting, otherwise we are not going to be remembered as those that are governing the country. Imagine this article states, wars are remembered, coups are catalogued, but nobody writes about boring bits. Headlines write about the collapse, not about the boring bits. So we do not want a stable, tranquilo government, focused, minding our own business to do what we have to do for the people. We do not want that. I'm asking myself as leader of this country, what then do we want for a government to propel a country?
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, Com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
Be brief. Basically, this law deals with those that don't have a bank account, so it's the basic bank account. But as we know in life, we try to always, when we start somewhere, we try to grow, right? So what happens then if I now get promotions in the job, and now I end up making more than the 3,000 guilders that's allotted. Will me having a basic bank account make it easier now to transition into a regular bank account? So I'm looking ahead at that, or does then I don't qualify no more for the 3,000, and now I have to reapply for a whole new bank account, or can we transition from a basic to the regular bank account? So that's just my question. Thank you, Madam Chair.
In the presentation, the minister made note of 17% of the population that currently don't have a bank account, and basically that the law will be permitting them to have one. One of the things that plague current banking users, people that have bank accounts, would be the extensive lines at the banks and the verwerkingstijd when it comes to that. So basically 17% more people getting bank accounts would mean potentially an increase in whichever line at whichever bank, or basically people visiting the banks, right? So my question would be, well, before I get to the question, one of the main things that are used to to circumvent people actually visiting the bank would be online banking. So my question would be, does this law have any provisions in it that would make online banking a right and not a privilege? Because if I understand correctly, right now it would seem as if the law as currently written is more a privilege than a right. So my question is it more a right than a privilege? And moving on from that, I know that this legislation is more for personal banking, and I would like to just look briefly at the more broader sense of banking in general. This is more for a right to a bank account for personal users. But if you look a little further when it comes to business, does it have any provisions, or is the ministry working on anything when it comes to rights for businesses? Because right now, the government would issue a business license, but that does not mean that the business is allowed to get a bank account. Because right now, you have several businesses on the island without bank accounts. Everything from casinos, lottery booths, you name it. And because of the CATF international laws and other laws, that makes it very stringent on Caribbean countries. I would like to know what is being done when it pertains to rights for a bank account for businesses. Because at the end of the day, these businesses turn over a lot of funds, a lot of cash. And when you look at the regulatory red flags, when it comes to anti-money laundering, the AML, etc., right now there's nothing to oversee those funds. So adding things like, if you were to just look forward, adding things like a casino that was just added to the list, or moving forward when it comes to the potential marijuana legislation, and you have marijuana dispensaries, does the law that we currently have, does that allow these businesses, current businesses, and businesses moving, future businesses, to have a bank account, to avoid St. Martin being even more on the blacklist when it comes to anti-money laundering? Because a lot of these stringent laws is because of our place on that list, and I would like to know what is being done to avoid St. Martin rising on that list.
The station, as the minister mentioned, and I'm happy that the minister continued the process, focus on ensuring that everyone in St. Martin could have access to a basic bank account, financial services, especially as our society becomes even more digital. What I am a bit disappointed in is with how we've handled this legislation in terms of timeline. The legislation has been here since the last quarter of 2023, so we're almost a year and a half removed from that. And we have basically taken away the opportunity for the same persons that MPs are saying that we are concerned about. We have taken away the opportunity to be able for them to open their bank accounts. So I'm hoping that, yes, we are going to adjourn the meeting today, but like many other meetings that we have called or have not come back to, I hope that this is not one of them that we do not finalize in a very short period. Now, nearly 2 years later, as a member of parliament, I also find myself in a crucial position to take the legislation even further, to strengthen it and future-proof the vision that we had at that point in time, and address not all of the gaps, but address some of the gaps that the people of St. Martin continue to experience today. And with that being said, I have submitted an amendment to the Parliament addressing some of these concerns. And the amendment will address key aspects, complaints, for example. I even had my colleague let me know that one of the banks in St. Martin, for example, that to even transfer funds, you still have to go in person physically to do that. And in today's age and the time of going more digital in the AI and so forth, that we're going to take this law and now make it more digital. So some gaps in the law that sits before us, it doesn't speak of being a digital law. So the amendment that has been brought forward takes the current legislation and brings it into the digital world. It also addresses areas, for example, where some banks, if you want to open a new bank account, you have to physically go there in person. If you want to ask for interest letter, you have to physically go there in person. If you want to ask for a new banking card, you have to physically go there in person. So with this amendment that I'm bringing forward, it ensures that the banks now have to, everything that you can do in the physical form, you now have to present in the digital form as well. When I was studying in the Netherlands, that's over a decade ago, or before I returned home actually, I didn't even get to see the inside of my bank. I have no idea what a teller looks like because I could have done every single thing at home. I had no idea what the bank employees look like. In addition to that, continuing to make sure that we actually elevate ourselves in society and we see the complaints of entrepreneurs, we see the complaints of the individuals in society regarding accessibility. This amendment also addresses the fact that we have limited access to payment services like PayPal or Stripe. And this amendment now would ensure that the banks with the central bank, at the very least, create an e-payment system that allows all of us to be able to have access to similar financial services. So whether it's opening a basic bank account, requesting a new bank card, receiving an interest letter, as I mentioned before, or just managing your account, it should not require multiple trips to the bank. In St. Martin, the digital divide remains real, as I mentioned before. Not everyone has easy access to international platforms. For many small businesses, gig workers, as the minister mentioned, digital nomads, and everyday citizens, the inability to easily use digital banking tools is a real barrier in economic opportunity.
It's time for a new brand that is as bold, vibrant, and colorful as the island of St. Martin, with colors drawn from our diversity, cultural heritage, and nature. Our breathtaking beaches, waters, and sun, the majestic brown pelican, our national symbol, the radiant yellow sage, our national flower, the historic border monument signifying the Dutch and French sides, our exciting cruise yachting, and boating ports. Renowned Maho Beach and St. Martin Airport, the hub to the Caribbean. All these parts come together to create the shape of the island of St. Martin. More than a logo. It's a new brand that engages, excites, and will inspire travelers to book. It's time to tell the St. Martin story, to reintroduce travelers to St. Martin, to honor our past, to embrace our present, and shape our future. Our culture and diversity, Dutch and French sides, unrivaled cuisine, twice the nightlife, entertainment, and shopping, cruises, boating, and yachting, twice the adventure, exploration, and relaxation, splendid and scenic accommodations, Pinel, Tentamar, and island hopping in the Caribbean. Whatever your taste, St. Martin has more. Experience twice the Caribbean. St. Martin.
24/7 TV programming on www.stmartinmediacenter.com, SXM Daily News, PBS NewsHour, Now You Know, com programs, documentary, entertainment, sports events, Saturday children's hours, religion programs, and movies. Click on SXM TV broadcast to see your favorite programs.
We are looking at the projected goals for 2030. So as we look forward to 2030, our strategic goals are clear and ambitious. The vision outlined today will become a living reality anchored by measurable targets that ensure our agricultural sector evolves into a resilient, self-sustaining engine of growth for St. Martin. At the heart of transformation is a fully operational ALF department, and by 2030, this agency will have established itself as an autonomous, trusted regulator capable of setting policies, enforcing food safety and standards, and driving innovation across the agricultural sector. And it will form the backbone of our entire system, ensuring that every initiative undertaken has a solid institutional foundation. So while much of today's presentation has focused on agriculture, livestock, and fishery, we must remain mindful that we are first and foremost a tourism destination, and the ALF complements this industry. In other words, they go hand in hand. And as a destination known for its vibrant and diverse culinary offering, our high demand for food gives us even greater reason to invest in and develop our local ALF sector. One of the primary goals is to reduce our heavy reliance on importing food, especially from the US, and to enhance our regional trade partnership. By diversifying our supply sources, we aim to not only secure our food system, but also to stimulate local economic opportunities and regional collaboration, creating a robust and sustainable supply chain for our nation. Another cornerstone of our strategy is ensuring that locally produced food meets the highest standards. The ALF agency will develop and oversee a comprehensive certification process that guarantees quality and safety, and this certification will serve as a mark of trust for consumers, elevating the reputation of local produce and giving the competitive edge it deserves in both domestic and regional market. A tangible sign of our success will be the increased presence of ALF-labeled produce or products on supermarket shelves. This means more local products will become the norm, not the exception. As consumer confidence in our certified high-quality produce grows, we expect to see a significant shift in market dynamics that favors local agriculture, thereby boosting our economy, our entire economy. And finally, our target includes a steady year-on-year growth in local agricultural output. By consistently increasing production, we can help stabilize food prices, reduce economic vulnerabilities, and ensure that our communities have a reliable and robust source of nutritious food. This growth is not just about volume, it's about quality, innovation, and long-term sustainability. So in summary, by achieving these projected goals, the ALF agency and the broader agricultural sector will transform St. Martin's economy, making it more self-reliant, competitive, and resilient. The path we are setting today is ambitious, but clearly defined, with each target serving as a milestone on our journey towards a prosperous and sustainable future. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for your attention and commitment to this transformative agenda, and I now welcome questions from the members of Parliament.